Test.
It looks like it's working to me. I've got video, but I don't know if we've got audio.
You did pretty quick at that. Like what was it gun? That's right. Okay, we would like to welcome everybody out to our council meeting tonight. We appreciate all of you being with us tonight. We will start off by our invocation by Councilmember Peterson. I probably ought to put my mic over by me now. It's probably working. No, it's not on. It wasn't pointed at you. I thought it was pretty loud.
I'll turn it on. There we go. Is that better? Can everybody hear me now? Councilmember Peterson.
Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly come before Thee as the beginning of this City Council meeting, and we thank Thee for the opportunity we have to live in our free country. We thank Thee for the blessings that are provided to us and for the wonderful community in which we have to live. We thank Thee for the moisture that we are receiving now, and pray that Thou will continue to bless us with the moisture needed for the coming years. We thank Thee for the opportunity we have to serve our community, and pray that as we go throughout the meeting tonight, that we will do so in a manner that reaches out to all of our citizens and looks out for their interests. We thank Thee for our law enforcement, for our firefighters, for the medical personnel who are fighting this pandemic at this time. We ask that Thou will be with all of them, that they might have the energy they need and the strength to carry on. We pray for the leaders of our country, that they will be guided by Thee and make wise decisions in how to best curb this pandemic. We ask a special blessing upon those who were inflicted with this disease, that they will recover quickly, that they might come to a full recovery. We again thank Thee for the wonderful community we have to live in, for the opportunity we have to serve others, and we pray that Thou will touch our citizens' hearts this Christmas season, that they might find the need to serve others around them, that we might be able to reach down and lift up those who are struggling. We again give Thee thanks for all we have, for the opportunity to serve, and we say these things humbly and do so in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Peterson. We'll have Councilmember Troxel lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
CJ?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Troxel. Okay. New hires in our police department. We're excited. My heavens, I can't see with these glasses fogging up. So I'll squint. Daryl Barlow, police officer, and Blake Jensen. So we're going to do a badge pinning. So, Chief, if you want to just start with Daryl, is that who we want to start with?
That'll be fine.
Okay, Daryl.
Come on up, Daryl. In fact, I think we can have Daryl and Blake both come up here at the same time. We can.
Jump up there, Blake.
One of you can come on this side of me. How about that? Now, see, I got it mixed up also. Okay. All right. Got to get the right badges there. Anyway, Mayor, we're really pleased to be able to have some new officers come on board and be able to do the pinning on them. As I've said, and I know you have said, and I've told these guys too, the Brigham City Police Department is second to none. Now, I'm biased, and I'm sure of that, but I firmly believe that by the same token. I just had 2 officers come up to witness this, and they got a call during the opening prayer, and so they took off. So they've been very, very busy today, the other 2 that are working right now. So we're excited to get these guys on board. They just started Monday. They just are fresh out of the academy. Daryl is from Clinton, right? Yes, sir. And Blake is from Roy. So, but they're both just renting right now, and I've encouraged them to. I always encourage them to come to Brigham City because then they're invested in the city, and it's a wonderful place to live and have a family, and it's just a great place. But I know they definitely will be coming up closer this way anyway. So, but we appreciate them and appreciate their hard work. They just started Monday. Like I say, they just graduated from the Weber State Academy, and so they're excited. They got a lot to learn, but we'll be teaching them, and they'll be teaching us too, things that we can always do better. And so we appreciate them. So we will, and then we'll let them have a minute to say something, but we'll go ahead and do the pinning of the badges here first. And so each of them have their girlfriends that they brought, and Michaela is going to pin on for Daryl. So if you want to come up, Michaela, and Sarah is going to do on Blake. So we'll give them the badges, and
You guys have your vests on?
yes, sir. Fortunately. And
In case you get poked.
just in case they kind of accidentally there do it at. You can come up front, take a picture, you're fine. And as I always say, they need to give each other a kiss, and they can remove their mask just to give a kiss. It's just no fun kissing through those masks. I can attest to that. So, anyway, I'll just, if it's okay, Mayor, I'd like them just to say a word or something, and so, Daryl, do you want to start?
So I'll keep this short and sweet for everyone here. I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to serve Brigham City. I've come to find that this city is quite amazing. I haven't spent a lot of time up here before deciding to join the department. And since then, I've tried to make it a priority to come up here quite often. Really love the city. I love everybody that I work with. With that being said, I want to thank just a few people. Special thanks to Michaela. She's been a huge support getting me here. So quite happy to have her in my life and the support she provides. Also, my friends, family, and everybody in the city has been really helpful for me as well. So I just want to say thank you.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet as well. Daryl hit a lot of the same points and a lot of the same feelings I have. I've never spent a lot of time this far up north. I was raised, down in southern Utah, around that area. And attracting me to the department was definitely the guys' website and the community relations and stuff the city has with the community. It's a privilege and an honor to work for such a fine city. And everybody I've met so far in the city, the department, the offices. I've loved every single person there. I'd also like to thank Sarah, my mom, and my dad for helping me get here, and my friends along the way. Everybody's been a huge help, and it's quite an honor to work for a city, so thank you.
You know, I am kind of impressed with these individuals. I believe it was Monday night we had a fatal. Was it Monday night? Days go together. I think we had a fatal car crash. I think it was on Monday night, and we were just telling them about it. And one of these new recruits here, when we just told them where it was up on Highland, and the one says, "Well, so that's right where that curve is in the road." And I thought, well, how do you know that? You know, but that just shows that they've been up here doing their homework already and learning the streets, because that's one of the important things with FTO is they're put on the test like that, and they need to be, if they get a call, they need to know where to go. And so just right there, I was impressed with them. So, and I know how hard they worked at the academy. I heard a lot of good about them working at the academy, and I know they'll work hard here and make it a career. So we're just happy to have them on. So welcome on board. Thank you.
Well, we're excited too. And Daryl and Blake, our department is the best department in the country, and you have a lot of support in this community. We know that as we look over law enforcement throughout the country, how officers are being treated. And I'll tell you that in this town, people respect the officers, and that they do care for law enforcement, and they do support our folks. And so you have a great chief. Your command staff is awesome. They're very dedicated and very caring for their officers and their families and their well-being. So Brigham City is a great place, and so we're excited to have you. As the mayor, one of my goals is to have 30 officers in our department, and we're working on that. It's been very exciting to see new officers come in, and we hope that you enjoy working here. We hope that your desires are to stay here and to move up and to get in the other positions of leadership in our PD. There's a lot of good training, and we have a lot of officers that have been here. Chief's been here a long time. But I'll tell you, my little brother was extremely proud when they pinned that badge on him. And this was his goal. This was his desire to be here. And he lived and died here, and was very proud to call Brigham PD his home and his department. He left this world very proud of the gentlemen and the ladies that he worked with. And he had a great passion for Brigham, and so I hope that you will gain that passion as well and that desire, because our department is, and I'm like the chief, a little bit biased, but I will tell you that I've been around law enforcement in other states and in other cities, and the support that's in our department is bar none the best out there. So welcome, and we're very glad to have you. And if there's anything that I can do in the mayor's office, if you ever have any questions or issues, please come and visit with me. I have a very soft spot in my heart for law enforcement, and so if you have any questions or any issues, the chief will tell you that I'm more than happy to visit with you and do what we need to do to help you if you have any concerns. So welcome. We're excited to have you. I can't tell I'm smiling through this mask. So.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent item.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Is there any questions on the consent? I should have asked that before we. Aye. So. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. The public hearing, surplus real property located at 547 East Forest Street, Brigham City, parcel number 03-102-0083, containing 0.44 acres and zoned R110. Derek Goyler.
Okay, I'm gonna run through just a couple slides here to discuss the piece of property that we're surplusing. So here's a map of the location. It's just right there off of Forest Street. It's actually where the old Merrill planing mill used to sit. So 547 East, there's the mayor already said there's 0.44 acres and it is zoned R110. We'll discuss this a little bit in detail here, but there are some taxes that are past due, some interest and penalty. And then there's the miscellaneous on there is a lien that was put on by Brigham City Corporation. So just so the public is aware that those are the what is due on the parcel right now. And then here is the assessed value from the county on that parcel currently. So as we talk about this, a couple items to note. There are back taxes and penalties that must be paid by the purchaser on this property. At the point of bid opening, Brigham City will release its lien. We are going to split the closing costs on the property 50-50. The sewer, gas, and water, I missed that, connections will need to be done on the property. They all have been terminated in the road. Impact fees will apply to the builder on this if there's a building permit pulled. Our plan is to advertise this for 2 or 3 weeks in the local paper, post notice of a bid opening at a time here in this room. That we'll open those bids. The city council has previously discussed a minimum bid of $75,000 on the property. We're asking the purchaser to provide full payment in full within 3 business days. Any interested parties can contact Kelly. The number's there on the screen. We will put a for sale sign on the property, hopefully Monday, if we can get to snow plows. But any other questions or concerns from the council before we open the public hearing on this?
Mayor, I move we open public hearing.
Second. A motion and second. All in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
Public hearing is now open.
We did not receive any comments electronically.
Mayor, it appears there isn't any public comments in this public hearing and nothing electronic, so I move that we close public hearing.
Second. Have a motion and second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now closed. Okay.
And then do we need to, we don't need to do anything, do we, to surplus that? Do we need a motion to surplus it?
Go ahead and make a motion of surplus it. Okay.
Do that.
Mayor, I move that we surplus the property located at 547 East Forest Street, Brigham City.
Second. Have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Tom?
I have a question. I know in past, when we've had an existing structure on the property, we've waived impact fees, certain impact fees. Can you maybe briefly discuss what the thought was on this one?
So Paul and I have discussed this. So we have adopted new impact fees that didn't previously apply, for example, fire and transportation. We went back and researched this. So this parcel has been in use before Brigham City ever actually adopted impact fees. So there has been no impact fees ever collected on this parcel in the past. So that's our logic. With and looking at history, there's been a change of use essentially on the parcel over that same period of time, from being a mill at some point in time to essentially being a storage facility to a vacant to an abandoned dangerous building. So essentially that change of use is why we as staff feel like impact fees still apply. I'm open to suggestion.
I just was wondering, I know the house that burnt down that I built for Habitat, and other houses like that, they were pre-impact fees as well. And I know they were waived there. I'm just curious.
change of use is and obviously the new impact fees would absolutely apply. So we're discussing water, sewer, electrical. At the point in time, the abandoned building, because of what took place at the city, a lot of that infrastructure was terminated in the road, transformers pulled off poles, all that kind of stuff. So essentially, we feel like this would be a new impact on the city for the change of use.
Okay.
So you guys make the decision now. And I would say if we were to waive any impact fees, we probably would have to find another funding source for that to make the impact fees whole because of the way the impact fees were adopted.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? We need a roll call vote. We'll start with Joe.
Joe's and I. Alden's and I.
Robbins and I.
DJ's and I.
Tom's eye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll go into the public comment period of our agenda at this time. So if you have anybody that would like to make a public comment, those who live in our city that can vote and run for city office, pay taxes in our town. Okay, very good. We'll go into council member comments, and we'll start with council member Farr today.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. With this COVID issue, it's kind of put a damper on committee meetings, and so at this point in time, I don't have anything to comment on.
Council member Olson?
The committee meeting I was able to go to was for the Boys and Girls Club. All the planning and all of the budgeting that Ms. Jeffries has done has been phenomenal, and that the Boys and Girls Club is doing exceptionally well. They're providing a service that is a very hard niche to fill at the moment, and they're doing a great job of it. And so I'm pretty darn proud of what they're doing.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson.
I had a Utopia board meeting, and I'm happy to report that this year Utopia's goal was to get 7,000 new customers. With everything that's happened with COVID and other things, they've got over 10,000 new subscribers this year. Revenue is amazing. They're looking at growth. They're being asked by other cities to come participate, which won't affect us at all, but just the demands that they're seeing, the growth that's happening, it's just really amazing to see that transition from being kind of a negative thing to just an amazing, amazing utility and infrastructure.
Yep, very positive for our city.
I don't have anything, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember Troxel.
Mayor, the only meeting I needed to attend was the Recreation Board Commission. They have a new president. Is it a president? I guess chair of the commission, and it's Julia G. She's very enthusiastic and wanting to put together a more formalized action items and plan in place for these meetings. The one thing that was brought up was she feels like it would be necessary, and the rest of the members approved, that they start attending each one of them have an opportunity to attend a council meeting.
Oh, that's great.
Just to kind of have our faces connect with each other and things like that. So we'll probably start seeing someone from that commission once a month.
Oh, good.
Coming to those meetings. And then they're going to look into some other more formal action items to do. I guess it's been pretty lax the last year or so. So we'll be doing that.
That's awesome. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Troxel. I actually had the opportunity to attend the Boys and Girls Club as well on my phone, but I couldn't get the mic to work, and so I had the same problem with Brian too, but that's okay. One of the commissioners kept saying, unmute your phone. I was like, try it. Can't get it to work. Anyway, we just appreciate all that our council members do. They do a lot of things behind the scenes that our citizens don't see. But we're very blessed to have great council members who are willing to review the issues that come before them and get the information they need to make the decisions that need to be made to benefit all of us. So I would like our council members to know how much I appreciate them. We are truly blessed to live in the city that we live in. On Tuesday in staff meeting, I challenged our directors to just do something nice for somebody every day. Just pick somebody out, do something nice, and not to be recognized, just to do something nice without them knowing. I'd like to issue that challenge to the council, but I'd also like to issue that challenge to the citizens of our town. And it can be as simply as a nice hello or a wave, or just you can't really do a kind smile because people can't see those, but just to do something kind. You know, not only our country, but our city and our state, times are a little tough with this pandemic, and people are scared and anxious and easily agitated. And so anyway, this time I'd just like to put that challenge out there that we try to be a little kinder, that we try to be a little more understanding. We all make mistakes, and when people do something that might frustrate us, let's try to be kind and nice rather than react and be frustrated and say those things that might offend somebody or hurt somebody's feelings. And so that's just a challenge that I'd like to put out to everybody. We appreciate our citizens in our town. We hope everybody out there is as well. Those who are struggling with the pandemic, you're in our prayers, and we're concerned about you. We're concerned about that pandemic, and you know, we just need to wear our masks and try to social distance and just be careful. We know that there's a vaccine that's coming soon. 406 people have been vaccinated. 406. So anyway, we'll all get through this together, and when we're done, one of the things that it's taught me is just how blessed we are to where we live. And I think a lot of times we take great health and strength for granted until these things happen. And anyway, we just need to be appreciative of one another and realize that we'll get through this together. And by going through this, we'll be more appreciative of health and the great community that we live in, and it's so important that we just support one another. And so Brigham City is great. So when people have issue, I know with our family and with families of others who have had struggles or heartache, it's just amazing to me how the community rallies around those people and supports them and shows them their love and their concern for them. So I'd just like to appreciate our community for that. Let them know how much we appreciate them and all that they do and all the support that they give to us in the City Council and the Mayor's office. We'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We hope everybody takes time to be with their families and to recognize how blessed we really are, and to find those blessings and just realize just how blessed we are. So anyway, appreciate the council again and all that they do, and I really appreciate staff. We're excited with these new officers. It's always excited as we get new ideas and fresh employees that come with ideas and desires to do well and to make their place of employment better if they can. And so we appreciate them. We're excited for them. Okay, under action items, a consideration of a resolution. Before we go there, under action item number 4, we're actually going to put after the closed session, just so we're aware of that. So, number 1, a consideration of a resolution requesting approval of enterprise zone designation, and Paul Larson is going to discuss that with us. Paul, are you with us? There he is.
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Are you warm, Paul? Where are you at?
I wish I was where that picture was taken, but I'm in my basement.
You're not. Okay.
Yeah, I'm high enough up that the sun is still setting from up here. So this item is a resolution of the City Council authorizing submission of an application to the state of Utah to renew the enterprise zone designation in Brigham City. This will be a 5-year designation, and it will, I believe this is the 3rd renewal that we've done. It will be the last. This program under legislation passed last year or earlier this year in the legislature will sunset after this round is done. Even if it were to come up again and be reauthorized, we will be over the 20,000 population threshold by then. So this is one last opportunity for businesses in Brigham City, excuse me, to take advantage of the enterprise zone tax credit. If I can share my screen, I'll show just a little bit of the on the right screen right there. This gives you a breakdown of what the tax credit entails. There's a tax credit for new job creation. You can see there's various levels of tax credit available depending on the nature of the job, the salaries, and so on. There's also what's called a capital investment tax credit. This is for plants, equipment, and other depreciable property. And there's also a tax credit available up to a certain amount if a building that has been vacant for more than 2 years is rehabilitated for a new business use, then it can also receive a tax credit. So this has been a powerful tool for a number of our local businesses, and we request the council's approval to reauthorize this.
This is something we already participate in, so I move that we approve the resolution for the enterprise zone designation.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we need a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilmember Farr.
Alden's and I.
Robbins and I.
DJ's and I.
Tom's aye.
Joe's aye. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Paul.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Paul.
you. Thank you.
Okay, number 2, consideration of a resolution extending date for providing benefits to essential employees during ongoing pandemic. Derek Euler.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Back in April, we brought a similar resolution to the council, giving the mayor authority to extend some leave time benefits that are similar to what's in the CARES Act to city employees. As far as we know at this point in time, that's said to expire the federal act at the end of December unless our Congress gets something passed by then. What we're asking the council to do tonight is extend that authority through the end of July 2021. Essentially what we're doing is if we have sick employees, we want them to stay home and not come to work. And so we wouldn't reset any of the previous time that's already been used by employees up to this point in time. We just want to extend that through the end of July to try to keep as many employees healthy and safe at work. Any questions on that?
Does this affect our budget at all?
It does in situations where we have to call in additional personnel to cover vacant shifts where somebody's sick or out. So temporary part-time employees, specifically fire and police, obviously with anybody that's on shift work where we have employees that are out. We did get, obviously I've talked in the past about some additional funding we received from the federal government to cover some of this, so. Which one? It looks good, it's perfect in there, July 31st, 2021.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
we passed this April 30th. At the previous time, the council made it retroactive to April 13th in the previous resolution. So that's essentially a null point. The language is still there. So.
Well, I move we approve the resolution extending the benefits provided during, for essential employees during the ongoing pandemic.
Second. A motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilmember Peterson.
Tom's eye.
Joe's aye.
Alden's and I.
Robbins and I.
DJ's aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. The consideration of resolution adopting the 2020 Bear River Region Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan. Assistant Chief of Police Chris Howard will discuss that with us. Welcome, Chris. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. This item is a request for the council to formally adopt the Bear River Association of Governments Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan. Every 10 years, FEMA requires that every city that wants to be eligible for pre-disaster mitigation funding submit a new plan. What BRAG has done is basically written the plan for all government entities in the 3 counties, and then left it up to each individual city to come up with their own mitigation strategies. So as the emergency manager, I submitted strategies for all types of disasters, everything from avalanche to earthquake, landslides, wildfire, etc. By adopting this, it does make us eligible for those FEMA funds for the pre-disaster mitigation grants. Cities participated in this in the past. That's how we have backup generators on our water supply. Certain whatnots, I can't remember how many wells, but several wells to supply the city. We actually have funding that is in process right now to replace the generator at the city, as well as some pump stations for the sewer lines throughout the city. So this would just continue kind of what we've already been doing. You just have to renew it every so often. And this is the new plan that we're asking you to adopt by resolution.
I'd make a motion that we approve the resolution adopting the 2020 Bear River Region Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we need a roll call vote. We'll start with Councilmember Farr.
Alden's and I.
Robbins and I.
DJ's aye.
Tom's eye.
Joe's aye. Okay, very good.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Discussion items. Presentation of the 2020 audit. Derek Euler and Kennington and Christensen CPAs.
Marcus on.
Is there a minute ago?
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, you have to be quiet for a minute, Marcus, while I talk.
All right.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity tonight to talk about our audit and financial condition for June 30th of 2020.
Birthday.
So we'll start off with a couple of highlights here. So some financial ratios, our days cash. Days cash is the number of days that we could operate with no additional revenue being collected. It does exclude any restricted cash for debt service or any other restrictions we have. So using all non-restricted cash on hand, the city could finance operations with no additional inflows for 178 days. This is an increase of 7 days from 2019. Days cash in our governmental funds decreased from 77 days in 2019 to 65 days in 2020. The decrease in cash in governmental is primarily from some funds that we use to complete our pickleball expansion projects and a cemetery expansion project. Days cash in our business type funds has increased from 260 to 295 days. We have been saving money for multiple years for a significant upgrade at our sewer plant. That project is underway. And by June 30, there wasn't a lot of funds that had been spent on that at that point in time. So we see a big bump in days cash there. It probably will go down in the following year. And then looking at liabilities to net position, it decreased in our governmental and our business type funds for the year. That's from us paying down debts in both of those fund types. Jumping over to the general fund, I'll highlight some revenues over expenditures and then some budget stuff. So our sales taxes were actually come in roughly $222,000 more than anticipated. Our property taxes actually did come in roughly $140,000 more than anticipated. This primarily is an interesting concept. There's a little bit of a lag between redevelopment agencies and what comes to the general fund, and so we actually did collect a little bit more than anticipated because of that year lag that the state legislature has on redevelopment agencies. Our franchise taxes come in under budget this year. We did have a significant power user that had shut down for a couple of months that affected electrical franchise tax revenue in the city. And frankly, I think the temperature must have been cooler because our gas tax was down a little bit as well. Or I guess I should say warmer. Building and impact fees, obviously not a lot of control the city has over there. They did come in $113,000 more than we anticipated. Going over to the expenditure side, fire and ambulance come in roughly $217,000 under budget. We had a lot of vacancies in the departments that we were unable to fill. Our police department came in roughly $96,000 under budget. I will say that none of that was for wages, so we were able to fill positions this year. And I'll remind the council, we do not budget for one of the full-time positions that's approved in there. So we had a lot of training that did not happen this year citywide. There's some big training numbers that did not get expended in the current year budget. So we'll have to take a look at that in current year budgets. And then streets moving there, they come in under budget. This is actually a lot lower number than the prior year. They did a good job completing their capital projects. This is surely a timing issue with Class C monies being expended. They were taken care of in July and August of the current years. Moving on to total revenues in the general fund, a couple things I'd like to highlight. Differences as compared to the prior year. The first one you see there, we had roughly $1.55 million in property tax revenue. From the 2018-19 budget year, that only made up 5% of the total revenues in the general fund, and with additional property tax revenues, we did jump up to 9% of the total revenue in the general fund. Sales taxes were again the largest percentage of revenue that helps us operate in the general fund. That net number is real similar to the prior year percentage-wise. Sales taxes were up $219,000 from the prior year in total, so we're continuing to see sales tax increases. And through a few months this year, I don't see anything that looks any different, but it's early to tell for sure. One last item I would like to show, I talked to the chief about this earlier. Our fines and forfeitures are down about $23,000 from the prior year. Our police department didn't write a lot of tickets and probably still aren't with this COVID pandemic going on. So obviously COVID has affected a few things, and that definitely is one right there. So total revenues in the general fund went from 16 million to roughly 7 million from the prior year. Looking at general fund expenditures and transfers, public safety made up 44% of the total general fund expenditures. Of that 44%, our police department makes up 54% of that, so just over half. And I was looking earlier at some other books. Back in 2013, public safety only was making up 36% of the total expenditures in the general fund. So we obviously with fire and ambulance, the things we've done there over the past few years, we're seeing increases in public safety in our general fund. Public works actually increased from 9 to 11% from the prior year. And like I said a minute ago, we were able to complete capital projects on time. We just did have a small one there, but we did a good job getting our Class C revenue spent in the budget year. A little further breakdown, the graph on our net cost of public safety. The net cost of public safety increased by approximately 4.8% from the prior year, $250,000. The police department obviously continues to be the highest net departmental cost. One thing else I will point out of this graph, as you look at it compared to the prior year, our net cost of fire and ambulance actually decreased from the prior year. Our revenues are continually increasing, but we did have those vacancies and some expenditures that weren't expended, so our net cost actually was less than the prior year. Looking at some fund balances, assigned and unassigned fund balances. So this eliminates any restrictions within funds. Unassigned and assigned fund balance is one way to measure the financial health of a fund, but it does not represent the cash that's available within that fund. In the general fund, that fund balance increased by roughly $393,000 during the budget year. The state auditor's office only allows municipalities to maintain a 25% ratio of yearly revenues. And at the beginning of the last fiscal year, we were at 21%, and we ended the current fiscal year at just 22%. So we did see a slight increase in that. The reason we're below 25% is we've had issues with that in the past, and we've been trying to transfer and make sure that we stay under that and complete some capital projects on our capital project funds. A couple other things I'd like to point out. The library fund did increase by approximately $155,000 from the prior year from additional property tax revenues. Jumping over to the cemetery improvement fund, we've seen a large decrease. Last year's fund balance there was $106. We're just over $2,000 now. We come back to the council mid-year and did a budget revision due to the expansion project at the cemetery. This cemetery improvement capital project fund, its only source of revenue is from the sale of burial plots in our cemetery. So hopefully we see an improvement with revenue in that with the additional space available for sale of plots. The golf fund actually had a deficit fund balance of roughly $15,000 in the prior year. We did do a $15,000 transfer from the general fund over there to help take care of that, but Chris had a really good year. Chris's profit and loss, he's actually up $32,000 revenue over expenditure for the year. So Chris had a really good year and did a good job at running the golf course this year. One change that I have made this year in the certified annual financial report is I have combined on the financials all of our RDAs into one fund. So obviously the council's aware, the public's aware, we have multiple redevelopment, economic development, and community development areas within our city. I've combined all of those into one fund for future years. They are still being tracked separately on the general ledger, but we are reporting them as one fund. The combined RDAs still do have a negative fund balance. It's mainly due to two intercompany loans, one for improvements at new core building systems and one for the academy building. And we did make a purchase in a property and another one that has a negative fund balance. So as we collect tax increment, continue to rent out our academy building, and maybe potentially sell a piece of property, that those negative fund balances will continue to decline over time. And then lastly, the 2009 SAA, the balance actually grew from the prior year by roughly $100,000. This is still mainly due to a large number of property owners not making payments on their assessments. Although we do have some residents not making the payments, the receivable on the books is more than sufficient to cover this deficit balance. In fact, we're going to be paying this bond off early as well. So right now, the total receivable at year end is roughly $1.1 million, and we only owe $719,000 left on the bond. So I expect that to be paid off in 2 to 3 years, depending on the economics and what happens with people paying those off early. Jumping to our business type funds. This graph shows all of our enterprise funds. Shouldn't say that, I guess our public utility funds, storm drain funds. As we look at this chart, there's a couple significant differences from the prior year. First, I'll talk about the water. Water actually seen a net profit decrease of $940,000 from the prior year. A couple things we had going on there with the council did approve a new full-time employee in that department in the last budget year. That affected it. Our impact fee revenue actually was down from the prior year. When you have a large company come in that pays a large impact fee, you can see significant changes from one thing happen on that. But the biggest of all of them was we had roughly $410,000 of emergency water repairs on our system this year. The big one up by the cemetery. So we had some major things happen with water this year, essentially that were out of our control. And then the next couple other things I do want to highlight, waste collection, you actually see a negative number there. We actually had a net profit after transfer loss with waste collection. Waste collection does combine our garbage, refuse, and green waste. As we discussed in the budget process, we knew we were losing money on our blue can recycling. The cost of disposing of those recyclables had went up almost 3 times what we'd projected in the last 6 months of the budget year. So the increase in fees that we discussed through the budget process, as you can see, is absolutely needed. Electrical increased by approximately $446,000 from the prior year. We continue to see a soft market in our wholesale power purchase. I'm not sure it'll stay that way, but we did during the budget year. The overall increase in net profits is up from the prior year. There is some capital projects that I discussed earlier that we're waiting on getting completed that are affecting that. Obviously, the cash flow within these funds is significantly different from what you see on the graph. It's much closer to break even. The city's ability to fund capital projects and replace aging infrastructure is also a great measure of financial health, and over the past 4 consecutive years, we've continued to increase our spending on capital projects. Looking at state compliance, although the general fund in total was not over budget, the cemetery fund by itself did come in over budget. We discussed this when we did the budget revision for the cemetery expansion project. We took as many funds as we potentially could out of the capital project cemetery improvement fund, and the remainder of that project did hit the general fund cemetery department budget. There's obviously was significant other savings in other departments to cover that deficit. And looking at our RDAs and our debt service, I did talk about those 2 negative fund balances. The state does not like negative fund balances, but I learned something. You learn something new every day. So I can take care of these 2 state compliance issues, which is simple budget revision. So I'll bring that to you within the next couple months. But essentially, all we need to do is budget for at least 5% of the revenue that comes into those funds to be retired every year. So it's just a simple budget measure. Even though it may not happen, we just need to budget for it, and those compliance findings will be eliminated. So I'll bring that to the council in the next month or 2. And we did have one other state compliance issue that Marcus will discuss when I give him the floor. So lastly, Brigham City's financial condition continues to be very good. The city must continue to conserve cash and increase the city's cash reserves to be prepared for possible, if not the inevitable, future economic downturns. Budgeting for future projects should be evaluated to determine the effect on the city's cash and the health of the fund for which the projects are being considered. And lastly, our revenues need to be evaluated carefully each year to ensure sufficient funding for any ongoing expenditures. I'd like to thank my staff. I've got one new person and a lot of people that have helped me in the past. It was a little bit rough this year getting things together with COVID. We had people out. I got sick and was gone for a while, and our auditors had to do everything remotely. Didn't spend a whole lot of time in Brigham City. It put a little bit of challenge on getting through the audit and preparing our CAFR, but I think we did good, and I appreciate Jason's help in reviewing my work. Brigham City's been awarded its 34th consecutive year of the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate in Financial Reporting. And lastly, thank Keddington and Christensen for their work. It went well. So questions from the council before I turn it over to Marcus.
Questions?
You're up, Marcus.
Okay, Marcus, it's up to you.
All right. Well,
Welcome.
Can you hear me? Is that?
Yeah, we can hear you great.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for the opportunity to audit Brigham City. I mean, it's a great city, a lot of great employees there. As part of an audit, we're required to report several items to governance. We consider the council to be governance. Part of the responsibility is to oversee the financial reporting process, where management is responsible for the financial statements. as an audit does not relieve governance or management of those responsibilities. But as auditors, we plan and perform an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and governmental auditing standards. And then we issue opinions and reports related to the financials. And the first report that we issue is the opinion on the financial statements. We've issued a clean opinion. It's called an unmodified opinion. That opinion, it's on the basic financial section, which includes the footnotes. Then we provide limited assurance on the supplemental schedules like the MD&A and the required supplemental schedules, and then the other schedules. And the introduction and the statistical section are unaudited. Another important part of the audit is to review the internal controls. And so we go through and review the internal controls that are directly related to the financial reporting process. So we'll walk through the transactions with the cash receipting, the cash disbursements, the payroll process, and then the financial close and reporting process. We do not issue an opinion on the internal controls because it's not required by governmental auditing standards, but we do review those controls and make recommendations as needed. We feel that the controls in place are adequate, so we did not recommend any changes to the internal controls. They do a good job with the checks and balances in those areas. Another part of the audit is called a single audit. And anytime a governmental entity expends over $750,000 in federal funds, a single audit is required. The program that had to be tested this year was from the Department of Transportation, so it's an airport grant. And so we went through there. I mean, single audits are pretty detailed what you look at. And we feel that the city complied in all material respects, a clean opinion. We don't have any findings related to that federal program. The next report that we issue is our report on state compliance. There's several different compliance items that we looked at this year. Those include the budgetary compliance, fund balance compliance, restricted taxes and restricted revenues. We looked at the Open and Public Meetings Act, the fraud risk assessment, enterprise fund transfers, reimbursements and loans, and then we looked at the impact fee requirements. And we issued our opinion in that says that the city complied in all material respects with the state compliance requirements referred to above. But there are a couple findings, but we didn't feel that they're material, so we could still issue that opinion. But the two state compliance findings, I mean, the first one Derek talked about, but there's two funds that have a deficit fund balance. And like Derek said, to meet state code requirement, you just need to budget 5% of revenues of those funds to retire that deficit fund balance. It's the special assessment area 2009 and then the RDA fund are the two funds. The next finding has to do with transfers from an enterprise fund. And this one requires that after a transfer is approved from an enterprise fund, the city needs to send out a mailer to each individual customer telling them that transfer has been approved and taken place. This year, that mailer wasn't taken out. I mean, they're just miscommunication, I believe. But in fiscal 21, the city's already done that. And so I believe they've corrected the issue there. But any questions about any of those reports, opinions, findings?
Any questions here? Any questions?
I just had a question. You said a letter should be sent out. Is that something that should be sent to all the citizens?
Right.
Okay.
I can respond just how we do it in Brigham City. So we normally, those happen in the utility bills. So the first one, the state requirement is actually 2 notices. We have to notice the public hearing of what we're going to do. And then the second part of that is a month later after the council votes, we have to tell them what we did do. The second part of that didn't happen. It's been 2 budgets ago. So.
And as far as the city, we feel the city has adequate accounting policies. They're all described in footnote 1 of the financial statements. We feel the city has a reliable accounting system that produces reliable financial statements. Feel the city has sound accounting policies. We didn't have any difficulties performing the audit. I mean, we did a lot more remotely. And I mean, it's been a challenge with the COVID, but I mean, I think everything went well, and Derek and their staff were great to work with. We didn't have any disagreements with management. We take fraud procedures very carefully. I mean, we go and ask questions to council members, to management, to other employees. We discuss, you have meetings as auditors. We'll go through journal entries. We do different fraud procedures, and I'm happy to report we didn't find any instances of fraud. And that's all I have, unless you have any more questions.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Marcus. Thank you so much.
All right, and I'd just like to thank Derek and Jason and their staff. I mean, a lot of time and effort goes into getting ready for an audit. I mean, there's a lot going on at Brigham City, and they do a great job, and so it makes an audit go a lot smoother when the books are in good shape. So I'd like to thank them for that.
We appreciate you. Thanks, Derek.
Okay.
And your staff, let your staff know how much we appreciate them too.
Well, obviously you didn't have any copies or anything in your packets. Well, I'll get copies. Marcus, will you mail me a few copies of your management report? Okay.
Yep, I'll get you copies. I mean, yeah, we'll get those up to you.
Okay. So it might be about 10 days before I get stuff to you. If anybody wants a hard copy, we haven't sent it to the printer. We're going to be send the book to the printer on Monday. But I can get some electronic copies out prior to that.
Electronic will suit me.
Okay. I'll get them as soon as they're completed. Thank you, Council. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Marcus. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You too.
Okay. We need to adjourn to a closed session.
So moved. And second.
A motion and a second.
DJ's and I.
Joe's aye.
Alden's and I.
Robbins and I.
Okay, thank you very much. Are we all here?
I have to. I'm just making sure you know the he's waiting on. Okay. I know you gotta get shut down. Hey, don't worry about making me a hard copy.
Okay.